Perfect. Well, thanks everybody for joining us. Start with is minus the gratitude was who I'm going to have you put in the chat of if anybody's new here, because I know we have some of our new faces, like introduce yourself in the chat. And then also, if you guys are signing up for the challenge, the Place Challenge coming up, also put that in the chat because I would love for us to like share our wins with the challenge of what's working for us and what we're committing to. Because if we're not sharing it in the chat and committing to something, then we're not going to do it. So if you guys are new here and committing to the challenge or either or, I'd love to see that in the chat. But otherwise, I will pass it over to Darcie Novak this morning. She is a Midwest operator out of northern Minnesota and western Wisconsin. So thank you, Darcie, for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me, you guys. I'm really excited to be here. I would love to know where everybody is at because I love to send referrals and I love to receive referrals. So if you guys could do me a favor and throw in the chat also like what cities you work. I know there's a few people from our team that are also on this call, and we like to get an idea of where our Place family is at. So please, please, please go ahead and Sioux Falls, Kansas City. Cow, Midwest is right there with Kansas City. That's good to know. Thanks, Christopher. Sioux Falls, Kansas City. God, Kansas City and Sioux Falls in the house today. That's awesome. That's great. I love this. So we do a lot of talking about mindset on our team because I think it's like the key to life is understanding our perspective and our mindset and really building better relationships with ourselves. And I'm going to use some content here from a Zoom that I do once a month called the Enlightened Agent Mastermind. And if anybody wants to join me for that once a month, you're welcome to hit me up and join us for that. It's pretty cool. And we talk a lot about, basic life stuff we need on this human journey to be our best, right? Because this life stuff is hard, right? This is hard stuff. Seriously, this is not easy. And we need community and we need these tools to be able to get through and navigate our way through. I'm a big believer that at the end of our life journeys, we should be high-fiving people wherever we're at and being like, nailed it, like nailed the human journey thing, right? So out of curiosity, I'd love to hear from everybody. You can go ahead and throw it in the chat, or you can, if you're brave, you can speak it out loud. I want to hear, are you your best friend or your worst enemy? Those voices inside of your head, that conversation that goes 24/7. When it's going off, are you your best friend or are you your worst enemy? Worst enemy. Depends on the day, right? True, 50-50. Depends on the day. And I love these answers of depends on the day and 50-50 because that means that we're working on it. Can you guys see my screen? Yeah. Okay, cool. Awesome. Cool. So today's intention is really to understand the conversations in our head and understanding that it's the relationship with ourself that really matters. We all, part of the reason why we love Place is because they teach us how to get into relationships better, right? We start to understand ourselves better so that we can understand other people better and we can hopefully help more people. Best friend or worst critic. Life happens inside of our own consciousness. This is all our perception, right? Each and every one of us can go through the same traffic jam and we're all going to handle it differently. We're going to internalize it differently based on our past experiences, based on where we're going, based on, what's going on in our lives. Life is perspective. So all that's happening in our lives and how it directly affects us is based on that narrative that goes off in our own head and the stories that we continue to tell ourselves all day, every day. Words matter. Our good friend Ben Kinney, before he walks on stage, he repeats to himself over and over again, I am the best at what I do. I am the best at what I do. I'm the best at what I do. And the reason why he's come up with this little mantra, this affirmation, is because he began to doubt himself. Those voices in his head were telling him he wasn't good enough and he had no right to be on that stage. He hadn't earned the opportunity. So he's come up with different ways. And I'm a big believer in these mantras that we can come up with that can kind of change the trajectory of the relationship with ourselves and the voices that are inside of our heads. Words matter, you guys, and not just the words. Valencia, God bless her, my gosh, that woman is a gift to all of us. And if you haven't taken her training, do yourselves a favor and get on the Valencia bus, because she is amazing. And she teaches us that these words matter. They also matter inside of our own heads. The things that we're saying to ourselves really matters. And if we want stronger relationships with our partners and our children and our parents, our families, and in these business relationships, we got to change our narrative. So, or improve it. Maybe it doesn't need a full change. So what do the voices mean? There's internal dialogue. That's that self-talk. I am absolutely one of those ladies that talks to herself in the grocery store, like, do I need this? I don't know. Maybe I should. No, Darcie, be strong. You don't need it. Those kind of things, and kind of processing my way through stuff. There's the inner critic. Raise your hand if you've ever been a victim of the inner critic. And those are those voices that say you're not enough. You don't have the experience to walk into this listing appointment. You don't have the skills to be able to have a conversation and build that relationship. You are going to say something wrong. You are, in whatever ways, we're not enough. Newsflash, you guys are all enough. You don't have to do anything, become anything, change anything. Like, you just need to be. Ego. It's natural to feel important. And this is how we think the world sees us, through our own eyes and experiences. One of my favorite stories is out to lunch with my mom and my grandma. My grandma always thought everybody was checking her out and talking about her and thinking about her. And she had said to my mom at lunch, she's like, that lady will not stop looking at me. I knew I shouldn't have dyed my hair red. I shouldn't have dyed it red. That lady can't stop looking at me. My mom looks over at the lady, and then she looks back at my mom, and she's like, Ma, there's a clock above your head. She's just looking at the clock, and like, how often we get caught up in our own heads, literally judging people, judging us, right? Isn't it kind of funny, kind of humorous, ironic? And really, ego is meant to help us. It's meant to protect us, but we've kind of let it get out of control in our society and take control of our conversations inside of our own heads. Anxiety, that's overthinking. Things can go wrong. Any of our high SCs that are on the call, a lot of you guys are really struggling with that anxiety, right? It's a defense mechanism. It's a coping strategy that we've developed to protect ourselves, to make ourselves feel safe. And creative voices. Has anybody been to a place event and come back and like been so inspired and come up with all these ideas for the business that you're going to implement, right? Huge, important part. And it's a really essential part of this journey, which is why community is so important. It's why these trainings are so important. It's why surrounding yourself with the right people is so important, because when we can raise the vibration on one voice, we quiet the other ones. And then there's spiritual voices. Those are like deeper connections, right? We sometimes get those when we're praying, or, we see things that remind us of something. And there's psychotic voices, the hallucinations. Sometimes it's like mental health or psychological disorders. What's really interesting to me is before 200 years ago, these people were gifted human beings. And now we've, somehow trained ourselves in society to say there's something wrong. There's nothing wrong with any of us. We just need to be. And then there's trauma voices. And if anybody has, this is the world of trauma. Let's face it, every day we wake up. And by the way, you don't escape life without trauma. It's part of life. So we got to learn how to deal with the trauma. But sometimes those scars are so large that they shout out and we don't feel safe. If you're comfortable with it, speak up. I'd love to hear from you which one of these voices that you kind of recognize that you need to work on in your own personal world. And if you've been doing any kind of internal work already on working on it, I would love to hear and have you share what you've been doing to help yourself with your inner dialogue.
I'll share mine for sure is the inner critic. I mean, I am so critical of myself, and typically not the most not critical of other people, but of myself, I am so critical. So I just try to catch myself and reframe it. But I've been doing a lifetime of training.
Yeah. Yeah. And you guys, this is a journey. This is not a destination. You are not going to graduate from the school of thought because you're going to keep thinking, hopefully. Right. So we want to keep improving. Who else? Who's got one that they've been working on and want to share what they've been doing to improve their life? Be brave. Nobody. This is tough conversation. Truly. This is hard stuff, you guys. When we start talking, and I always think it's humorous that we have these voices, this inner dialogue that goes 24/7, and we like very rarely talk about it in public, right? I was asking my team, like, how much of you do people really know? And most of them were like 5%, 10%. Like there's a whole story going on in here all the time, right? And we don't talk about it. And I find that very interesting because it exists all day, every day. So I'm going to encourage you to start talking about it with people that you know. And beyond the, oh my gosh, I couldn't turn my brain off last night. I couldn't sleep, right? That's what we're talking about. So how do we manage those voices? Self-awareness is a big one. And this is an ongoing journey, just becoming more and more self-aware of the patterns, the loops, the routines that you have in your brain and those feelings that are emitted because of it. Every once in a while, I get this feeling of like guilt will come in or shame or whatever that, those traumas will rear their heads. And I'm like, whoa, what is this all about? And like starting to identify those triggers within myself. Play with them, understand them, be brave enough to change them. Guilt has been a really big thing for me in my life. And I started when that guilt feeling would come up, I would be like, whoa, 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 guilt. Like, hey, cool that you came to visit me today, but you're really not welcome here anymore. So I'm going to have to tell you to hit the road, Jack. It's time for you to leave the building. And oddly enough, like just me talking to that guilt, like started changing those neural patterns in my brain. And I started choosing different thoughts. Don't underestimate the power that you have within yourself. It's amazing. Challenge those negative voices, talk back. When you dive deep, you get to the root of the feels and you notice that they are often separate from the current experience. A lot of times what we're not feeling that by that. My sister and I joke all the time about the ironicity of irritation. Irritation is something we ourselves feel. It's something that is in our own heads. And we cannot get irritated by someone who doesn't trigger that something within ourselves. My sister has always made fun of me for my high squeaky voice, which I'm going like froggy right now, but of my high squeaky voice. And my brother and I laugh because her voice is squeakier than mine, but it irritates her. It's usually something, it's like a mirror, like coming back at us. And when we can take time to be self-aware enough and start recognizing that, we can change those patterns and those loops. Mindfulness, meditation, and exercise can help you detach from those voices so you can learn to regulate them. And you guys, there's no quick shot. There's no quick thing. There's no magic, potion that is going to change this for you. It takes work. It takes time. We have to invest that time into ourselves so we can show up as the best people, the best versions of ourselves for our children and our parents and our siblings and our friends, our communities and our businesses. Therapy, I'm a big believer. Everybody needs a therapist. We all need someone to talk to. This life journey stuff is hard. The reason why I came to Place, I was like literally at wit's end with my business. I called Ben one day on the phone and I was like, I'm done. I can't do this anymore. Like, can you just like give me a job in the mailroom and I am just gonna, figure something out and I'm changing the trajectory. I am done with this real estate crap. And as Ben often does, he will lovingly sometimes slap you across the face, is the way I describe some of Ben's advice. And he said, he had asked me, he's like, when are you going to partner with me? And I said, Ben, I don't use this word anymore in my vocabulary, but I used to describe myself as a SHIT show. And I said, I cannot put this on, like, I have too much love and respect for you and your people and your organization to put this on your plate. And he gave me the loving slap across the face and said, and that's exactly why you will continue to hold yourself back in life. And we joined Place probably, I don't know if it was weeks or a month or something like that later. And, it's dawned on me, it's come through to me. Ben's lessons are rarely about real estate, by the way, it's about life. And like how many times that advice has come back to me in that, how many times do I think I can do this mental journey by myself, right? Like we need community. And that's why we're part of Place. We need community to do this. Creativity and expression. Somehow this has gone away in our busy world of trying to be these mass producers, and we're all trying to be so productive and move the ball forward. And we really forget things like journaling and writing and art, and all of that activates different patterns in your brain that help you with that mental thought process. So I've been really trying to get in contact with like 10-year-old Darcie, who used to like to draw and color and paint and be creative and kind of tap into that. So I'd love to hear from this quiet group who hopefully I haven't bored stiff. Which one of these things, if you were to focus on one of these things, self-awareness, challenging your negative thoughts, mindfulness therapy, and creativity and expression, which one of these things would you focus on to increase your relationship of that you have with yourself and the voices in your head? Raise your hand or throw it in chat if you're shy. But I'd love to hear from you, so I know you're alive, breathing.
I'll go again. So the therapy definitely helps a lot. And I actually play golf with a business coach, and she is big into, and if any of you play golf, there's a lot of negative self-talk when you're playing golf for sure, because it's a very challenging, whatever it is, sport, activity, whatever you'd call it. But so she said that every time that you do something, say, like when you do something good, you're supposed to say it out loud. Like, great job, Tina. That was a good shot. Or or before you make a putt, say, out loud, I am a great putter. I'm going to make this. Just because she said, when you say it out loud, I can't remember, but it exponentially is impactful to your subconscious.
Yeah, big time. Love it. Love it.
Yeah, kind of going off of what Tina said, I remember I saw Ed Milet a couple of years ago, and he was talking a lot about golf. And I think a lot of the time of like, so if we're like gonna shoot towards the water or gonna do something, like we always tell ourselves we don't want to do something. And I've been saying this to myself for many years. If we have to tell the world what we want, not what we don't want. And so if we tell the world what we want, like putting positivity in the world and like the positive things, it's more likely to come back to us, rather than saying, I don't want or I'm trying to figure out how to like do the double negative. Like I'm going to sell this house, or I'm going to get this listing, rather than like I hope I am, or I don't think I'm good enough, like that type of thing. Like I know going into the listing appointment, like I know I'm as prepared as I'm going to be, and I know I'm going to get it. Kind of, I don't know if Nicholas is on here. I think I saw him post earlier. It's like, and actually like, oh, and Matt was on here too. Like 2 agents on my team just got some really awesome opportunities for listings this week. I'm going into that appointment, and competing and knowing that like we can get this.
Beautiful, Destiny. I love it. Who else wants to share? Seeing a lot of challenging the negative voices popping up in the chat, and mindfulness, huge. Who else wants to share?
This one might be a lot, but let's go for it. So, one of my biggest breakthroughs was facing any of the negativity, facing any of the trauma, instead of running from it or trying to just be happy. Instead of just trying to focus on that, I actually just dug right in and just faced all the ugly things in the world. And once you get comfortable with them, then they no longer have so much power over you. And then you can move forward without having to put so much energy into being positive. You just kind of will move forward with both of them, really.
That was good. That was good. You know, running into the fear, right? Running into the fear. And it's really, a lot of it is that fear that holds us back in life. And when we get comfortable being uncomfortable, it changes the game for us, right? Yvette, oh gosh, why is my brain not working right now? A couple of our place partners, Yvette and Jim from Michigan.
Blim.
Thank you, Blim. It's escaping me. Yvette just did that thing where she climbed a mountain 3 times in like this period of time. Yvette just turned 60, I believe. And you know, she's never worked out or like been athletic. And like she did this 12-hour mountain climb where she climbed up and down the mountain 3 times with her son. And she said, you know, once you do that hard thing, like, and you change here, you start changing everywhere, right? I want to be mindful of time. So live your life as though the relationship with yourself matters, because literally nothing else matters more. All of your life happens right up here. So let's start putting our efforts. You want a better business this year? It starts up here. You want a better relationships this year with your loved ones? It starts up here. If you want your better health and you want to get in better shape, it starts up here. It all starts up here. So be selfish with your self-love. I'm a huge believer that everybody should be in the self-care Olympics and trying out, and really should be putting that as their primary focus. And remember, this is a journey. You guys are not graduating. Goal today is that you guys all look yourselves in the mirror today and you are like high-fiving yourselves and telling yourselves how amazing and wonderful you are. I'm going to put my email in the chat if anybody wants to join us for those Enlightened Agent Masterminds. You are more than welcome, and we talk about this kind of stuff as well as you know, health stuff. Last time we had a homeopathic nurse come on and just talk about how we can better take care of our bodies. So any questions before we go? Any ahas? Any thoughts? Too busy thinking in your own heads, aren't you?
Mel Robbins did her podcast a few months ago, did talk about how our brains are supercomputers, and so they always need something to do. And more often than not, if we don't give them something creative or challenging to do, they turn on themselves. And that's where all the self-judgment and anxiety and all of those things come from. So literally just doing anything else. Finding solace in our work, exercise, like anything that can challenge you is going to take you out of going to take that supercomputer and just point it at something else, so that you don't spend too much. That's what scrolling and like free time does, is like you turn in. And so trying to avoid that.
Yeah. That's, I think like this year I've had too much free time. So I'm definitely like, well, and I don't have free time, but this year's I'm filling it with like scrolling and things I don't need to do. So thanks for sharing that. That was beneficial. And thank you, Darcie, for your time today and everybody for hopping on here as well. I think we have Tina next week for our Midwest Power Up. So thank you, Tina, for signing up to you're just so wise. I love hearing from Tina. So excited. And if you guys have any things
That's
that you
because
guys
I'm
want us,
old,
no, you're
Destiny.
not. No, no, you're not. If you guys have anything else that you'd like us to chat about, please let us know. Lexi posts these on YouTube, and Darcie, like this was fantastic. I think a lot of us are like sitting and like, hey, how are we talking to ourselves? And I think it's really like, especially when we get so busy, sometimes it goes so fast and we don't take a step back and realize how we are talking to ourselves, and we get a little like lost in the mess of things. Um, and yeah, I think we are all sometimes SHIT shows in our own way sometimes. So thank you so much for your time today. And everybody, we will be here next Wednesday at 9 a.m. And I hope to see you. And if you guys need anything else, Lexi will let Lexi know and we can figure it out for power ups going forward. Thanks again, Darcie.
You guys have an awesome week, and remember us for Northern Minnesota, Duluth. We love referrals, and we will remember you guys for Kansas City, Sioux Falls, and all the other areas. Appreciate you guys.
Bye. And Duluth is beautiful. If you guys, I know Duluth has a lot of vacation homes up there too.
Indeed.
Bye, guys.